And showtime! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I am executive editor of the ChannelPro Network, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host on this program, Eric Simpson, a business transformation and improvement consultant for MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, how you doing?
Doing fantastic, Rich. And you?
I am doing well also. Yeah, we're both home for a change.
Yes, we are, and enjoying every minute of every day we are at home.
Absolutely, yeah. Going back out on the road, at least in my case, next week, and looking forward to that. But it is nice to spend a week in my own bed.
Yes, it is. I yearn for my bed when I'm traveling. You know, nothing's better. Just getting back, no matter what hour of the day or night it is. I mean, I did some heavy travel recently, Rich, and I was home a whole 6.5 hours between the time I had to get back on another plane. So I know that you resemble that remark.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure no regrets, making the trip out to LA for that 6.5 hours. Worth it, you bet.
You bet. No whining here.
All right, well, let's plunge into the week's news. Not a huge news week, but there was a story out there that I thought we would talk about a little bit because it's interesting on its own. It also points to a larger trend in the industry that we've discussed on the 5-Minute Roundup before. That is news of an alliance relationship between Arcserve and Sophos. So Arcserve, very familiar name in the BDR, disaster recovery as a service space. Sophos, of course, very familiar name in security. And those two companies are now going to be working together. Essentially, Arcserve has a number of different deployment options for its UDP, Universal Data Protection platform. One of those is to deploy the software on appliances that Arcserve itself makes. And so they're now going to be shipping appliances with the UDP software on it and Intercept X, the endpoint security solution from Sophos, pre-installed on there. And the idea basically is to protect the backup data from ransomware and other attacks. So you get embedded security on the appliance with the BDR software. What's interesting about that to me, aside from the fact that if you're an Arcserve user or if you're somebody in the market for a BDR solution, knowing that you have the option of getting this tool from Sophos with the BDR solution is potentially attractive to you. Aside from that, though, it's the latest manifestation of this trend in the industry we've spoken about before of BDR vendors and security vendors coming together to deliver what increasingly is being referred to as data protection or sometimes cyber protection solutions. The line between BDR and security is getting blurrier and blurrier, and this is just another example of that. And obviously the really prominent examples from 2019 are Carbonite buying Webroot early this year, and we are actually just a few weeks away now from Acronis, which is a name well known for backup, introducing a big package of security software. So they too are repositioning themselves as they say cyber protection vendor, but similar kind of strategy. So we're seeing a lot of this, and this is how Arcserve and Sophos for now are kind of getting in on it.
And we expect to see more of it. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? It's kind of like, my peanut butter to your jelly, right? I mean, it's one of these scenarios where not only are the IT providers realizing the importance to protect clients' data and really adjust their models to serve their cybersecurity needs, but the vendors themselves are trying to position themselves and align themselves in order to not only simply remain relevant, but also to have a fighting chance and potentially be a leader moving forward. So I think it's a no-brainer for them to get together like this. And candidly, it's really something that from a service provider's perspective, we should be evaluating all of our vendors and identifying the ones that are actually growing and moving to where the puck is going to be, as the great Wayne Gretzky used to say, right? I don't skate where the puck is, I skate where it's going to be. In order to evaluate, the longevity of our strategies and who we're going to be partnering with for the long term. And, as you know, Rich, in the article you wrote, it indicated that a ransomware attack happens every 14 seconds now, which blew me away, right? So this is something that if our partners aren't promoting to existing clients and prospects to get them to move toward a more secure data protection strategy, they should be. And in fact, we need to protect those the data that's in the backups, because now the cyber criminals are actually encrypting that stuff too. And that's why some of this movement towards protecting the data that's at rest or archived or in a backup is so important.
Yeah, one of the other statistics cited in the article here is, according to cybersecurity ventures, there will be $11.5 billion of damage from ransomware in 2019. They're expecting that to hit 20 billion 2 years from now. So there's a lot of great technology out there for protecting against ransomware, and yet the problem of ransomware and the impact it's having is only going up by huge amounts. So yeah, you should definitely be looking. I like the point you make about evaluating your vendors and evaluating their vision and their plans for the future. And if you're in BDR, if you're in security, especially if you're in security, and the BDR vendors have been saying for a while that BDR is essentially the last layer of defense, the last line of defense against ransomware. So it really is kind of part of a security strategy. You want to be looking for vendors who kind of understand that, and if they're not merging or being acquired by a company on the other side of the fence, they're at least accounting for that need in their technology and their roadmap.
Yeah, you can't be complacent about this kind of thing, because ultimately, yeah, the BDR may be the last defense against it, but you're the provider that's serving that client, and it's ultimately up to you to make sure that you're making the right decisions. And don't be complacent on the vendors and the providers that got you where you are today. Will they get you where you need to be, where the puck is moving, and being that strategic value to your clients?
Well, as long as we're talking about ransomware and not being complacent, it's kind of a nice transition to your tip of the week, which has to do with a precaution that you advise MSPs to take with respect to preparing their clients for ransomware.
Yes, Rich. So, very apropos, this this topic this week. My tip of the week is set yourself up a Bitcoin account. Set yourself up a Bitcoin account, not so that you can cash out and leave the business and leave the industry of buying and trading Bitcoin. But I'm talking about as an additional measure to safeguard and protect your clients in case the letter that starts with S and ends with T happens and they do get ransomed, or prospects. And this came about, I was speaking with a partner last week, and he was talking about how one of his clients got ransomed, and it took them a week just to get a Bitcoin account set up so that they could pay the ransom. Now, this was a no-win scenario. This wasn't a scenario where the provider was responsible for anything like that. It was, they were clean on this thing. The client just, didn't do what they were supposed to do and take the provider's advice. And guess what? They got ransomed, and it took them a week to get a Bitcoin account set up so they could pay the ransom and get access to their data again. Now, I'm not proposing that we live with this and this is just a way of doing business, but I'm saying if you have a Bitcoin account set up already and a prospect that you're marketing to, because as you're marketing for cybersecurity services, you're going to run into folks that already are ransomed or in the process of being ransomed, or maybe they reach out to you because they've been ransomed. It's nice to have the ability quickly to negotiate whatever the ransom payment is on behalf of your client. They pay you for the Bitcoin, you make that transaction happen, and then at least you can get them back to business functionality or business continuity as quickly as humanly possible. That does not let you off the hook from installing great solutions like we just heard from Sophos and Arcserve to help protect that stuff. But I'm just saying it's an additional insurance policy that you have in case that happens. Now, while we're talking about insurance policies, please, please, please also get your clients signed up for a cybersecurity risk insurance policy that will help defray the costs of the ransom that they've got to pay should something happen. So this is a doomsday scenario. Be prepared if it occurs and something happens. you're able to quickly take action and get your clients back up and running, in a situation like this.
Yeah, and so I would say, getting your client cyber insurance, that's step 3. Step 2 is the Bitcoin account. I think that's really great advice. Step 1, the very first thing you should do, if you haven't done it already, is make sure every one of your customers is running an endpoint security system like InterceptX that we were talking about before, and there are others like it. They're behavior-based. They don't rely on a blacklist. They can detect a ransomware attack in real time, and they have the ability to actually roll that back in real time if they see an attack underway. If this a company you were talking with had that technology in place, they wouldn't have had to wait a week to get the Bitcoins to pay the rent. They wouldn't have had to pay the ransom at all, which is, of course, something that you really never want to do. It only encourages the attackers. But if you find yourself in that situation, sometimes you've got to do it. The key thing is to do everything in your power to prevent a successful ransomware strike, and that begins with getting the technology in that can block it or prevent it or sort of undo it before it has a chance to do real damage.
Yeah, it's a great summary, Rich. I mean, prevention is always, the recommended option here, and we're talking about a layered strategy, right? So in case they breach the first perimeter, then you have the second activity, and then the last. So again, yes, do everything in your power to prevent it from happening, but be prepared, because it may happen, and it may happen to prospects that aren't on a managed IT service agreement with you or a cybersecurity agreement with you. Maybe you're doing time and materials work for other clients, and they haven't yet invested in these things. And like I said, folks will be, they will pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, can you help me? I've been ransomed. Okay, we can jump into action and then implement a strategy to help prevent that moving forward.
Yep. Great point. Be prepared. It's all about being prepared. Well, we have got time for just one more story this week. It's a timely one, actually. We are still at the tail end of September as we record this, but it is actually officially already Oktoberfest in Munich. And there was a recent court case that kind of dovetails with that pretty nicely. There are laws apparently on the books in Germany that prevent makers of food products for making certain health claims that, that this or that food product can help you treat a disease. And this became a court case recently when a product that was being advertised in Germany claimed that it could cure a hangover. And so the question arose, is a hangover an illness, a health condition? And in Germany, at least, officially, legally, a hangover is an illness. An illness, the court said, can include even small or temporary changes to the body's normal state. And my goodness, temporary, yes, sometimes not so small on a hangover. So in Germany, a hangover is an illness, which means, of course, that you can't pretend or claim that the product you're selling is a cure for a hangover.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me, Rich, that, only in a country that, has a holiday titled Oktoberfest, where lots and lots of alcohol and beer is being consumed, will they treat that as, a hangover as an illness, right? I don't think we have that situation here yet, but it's just interesting, the correlation, hey, we're going to celebrate, we're going to drink tons and tons of beer, and yeah, if you have a hangover, we're going to consider that an illness for a short period of time.
Well, quick side note, if you are celebrating Oktoberfest here in the U.S. And maybe you celebrate a little bit more than you should, just keep in mind, Sunday, September 9th is National Coffee Day. So the perfect cure for that hangover. And in fact, look around, because there are various chains and places that are offering National Coffee Day deals.
Oh, very good. So, not quite an illness, but we'll try to help you recover from the hangover with good old Java.
Well, that is all the time we've got this week on the 5-Minute Roundup. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like this program, you'd like to keep up with future episodes, maybe take a look at some past ones you missed, thing to do is to go to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube and subscribe. Make sure you click that little bell icon to get notifications of when new episodes become available. To read more about the deal between Arcserve and Sophos and the larger trend combining data protection, or BDR rather, and security into data protection, business growth strategies, all sorts of great stuff, go to channelpronetwork.com on a daily basis. We've got great new content going up for you there every day. To learn more about Erick and the work that he does with his clients, the place to go is ericksimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. So thanks once more for joining us this week on the 5-Minute Roundup. We will be back again next week with another episode. Until then, please enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.